unnecessary intro song to totally waste your time. Plastic. Oh, that plastic. That damn plastic floating in the ocean, killing turtles. There's an island of plastic in the ocean. It's like a mile wide. Fucking plastic. Go for a walk in nature and you come across some plastic. Damn plastic. Human beings making plastic. You know, they make a football field worth of plastic every millisecond now because of people buying water bottles. Plastic. Mountains of plastic. It's terrible. Plastic surgery. Ugh. I don't want a person that looks like plastic. Plastic is not fantastic. We hate plastic. Or a lot of people seem to hate plastic. Boy, plastic sure does have a bad rap, doesn't it? It's evil. There are a lot of people out there. Currently, right now, I'm making this because somebody's complaining about plastic on my wall. It's as if plastic is created by Satan. What is plastic? Well, let's read from Wiki. Should we read from Wiki? Plastic is material consisting of any of a wide range of synthetic or semi-synthetic organic compounds that are malleable and so can be molded into solid objects. That's just the first part, but already we have to think of synthetic. What does that mean? Organic compounds? What? Organic? What's organic about plastic? How could you call plastic organic? You can't sell that at the organic grocery, you know? Come on! What are you talking about? Plastic isn't organic. It comes from oil, petroleum, dead stuff. You know what organic means? Organic basically means it's made up of carbon. Mostly carbon. You're mostly carbon. Did you know that? Did you know that almost all living things are mostly carbon? Made up of carbon. Yeah, and other things. You know? Yeah, but you said synthetic. That means there's something phony about it. Well, is cooking phony? You know? Is candy phony? Is candy bad? You know, to make candy, you got to take carbon, sugars, heat them to a certain degree, you know, melt them, add some flavors, and they harden. A chemical process. Amazing. Where do the sugars come from? Have you ever had a hard candy in your mouth and thought, holy shit, this is crazy. How'd this happen? You know, well, somebody takes some corn or some sugar cane, these living things, you apply some heat, you mix them with some other things, you boil off this or boil off that, get a little beaker, you isolate certain components of them, you know, much like what happens in, you know, basic biodegradation. There are systems that are the same kind of thing is happening. Got lots of little helpers to help it do that, like bugs will eat it, munch it. It'll go in their body and the little things will be separated. Happens when you eat that piece of sugar. Goes into your body, certain parts of it stay, certain turns into fuel, it turns into heat. You get a little steam that comes out of your sweat, comes out, the moisture. Some of it goes out your pee hole, some of it goes out your poop hole, and things are synthesized and created inside of your body. Yeah, but that's all natural. Okay, is it? Okay, so what's... is it natural to eat? Yeah. Is it natural to cook? Moo, moo. I don't know. Lions don't cook. Termites don't cook. Giraffes don't cook. Plants don't cook. Ever seen a forest fire? Lightning? Things get cooked. Maybe not intentionally. So it's the human thing that's the problem, right? It's the intent. Is that what it is? If we were just grazing around mindlessly and we didn't invent fire, we didn't learn, or nobody invented fire, right? Did a human invent fire? Did a human invent the sun? No, they just learned how to manipulate it and control it, and use it for this or that. The way nature has already used it for many purposes. Many trees, for example, many pine cones don't open unless there's a forest fire. Did you know that? That's right. It's weird, right? Over billions of years, this tree evolved and thought, I'm going to get pregnant. I'm going to jizz all over the forest. But, in case there's a fire, don't worry about it. The only time my jizz will open up and become useful is after a fire. That's a smart tree. Smart fire. But plastic's got a bad name because humans made it. And it's durable. Right? It's ugly. Ew, some of it's ugly. Is it always ugly or is it sometimes pretty? Is your computer pretty? Is your phone pretty? What about that nylon dress you're wearing? That's plastic. It's a polymer. What's a polymer? That sounds scary. Well, polymer. Poly means many. Mer means parts. Many parts. It's got many parts to it. Lots of ingredients. A good burrito is a sort of a polymer. Well, as a metaphor, But, so plastic comes from oil and organic compounds. It's heated. These things are heated and they're separated and they're put together in re-put together in a different way. And then it becomes what we know as plastic. Lots of different kinds of plastic. It's not just one kind. There's lots of kinds. Plastic means a lot of different things. Some of it, a lot of it. Well, it all comes from organic things, right? You can get corn plastic. We got certain kinds of biodegradable plastics that biodegrade faster because apparently things have got to biodegrade quicker. For some reason, when you're building a governmental building or a church, you want that to last forever. But a container that contains laundry detergent, you don't want that to last very long because there's something offensive about a container of laundry detergent. Maybe it's the idea that we're dirty, that we have dirty buttholes, we have stinky armpits, and we have to clean them. And sometimes we use detergents to loosen up the soil and separate them and synthesize away the ingredients so they don't become a polymer in our armpit, so they don't bond, so they don't synthetically create a different kind of polymer in our armpits or our buttholes. And so we're ashamed. Maybe we're ashamed, we don't want a plastic cup to stick around because we're ashamed that we had to have a drink, or that we wanted to carry it from point A to point B, that we wanted to hold it at a party, or that we wanted to suck it up through a straw instead of tip it back into our mouth. It's offensive stuff, this plastic. Oh! It's offensive because it's human. And what's more offensive than a human being? Ugh. Human beings, ew. They're so bad. What they do to nature. turning these beautiful oil wells. These beautiful wells of oil that are down in the earth, just minding their own goddamn business. Just being all sludgy and gushy down there between the rocks, sleeping all comfortably, and then some asshole comes around and drills it. Except that's, not counting the oil that just automatically rises to the top. Anybody from Long Beach knows about tar pits and oil on the surface, and of course there's natural oil leaks all over the place. There are places you can go where natural gas is bubbling up through springs and sets on fire. I don't know if you've ever been to Yellowstone. It's amazing what's going on there. Volcanoes. Have you ever seen a volcano? It's crazy. Crazy chemical reactions going on all over the place without any human intervention. And so much of it's going on, this transfer of energy, that the amount of energy humans use and create seems kind of embarrassing in comparison, to the oceans creating on its own just the spinning of the earth and the gravitational things and all the electromagnetic stuff, and just going around creating energy, and the sun, just creating energy. But by gum, when a human does it, if a human inserts themselves into the process and harnesses it for any purpose, that's, now you've gone too far. You're not supposed to be involved in nature, so say the environmentalists. You're not allowed. Volcano is allowed because it doesn't have a brain. The ocean's allowed because it doesn't have a brain. An earthquake gets off the hook because it's inevitable, and that's the earth. And we got to protect this earth that's trying to kill us, and will kill us, and does kill us, and will kill you. The final score, by the way, Mother Nature 1, you 0. If you consider death to be the point of nature, which it seems to be. You live a little bit, and then you die. Everybody. All the organic creatures live a little bit, and you die. And all the organic creatures, while they're being alive, are eating. Yum, 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 yum. Eating little things. They're probably, a lot of the things that they eat are living things that don't want to be eaten, that are running away from being eaten. You eat them, munch them up with your teeth, your little whatevers, and it goes down your little body, turns into farts, turns into poops and peas, You gotta cook stuff, you gotta haul stuff around. Ants do it, they haul stuff. Ants farm, little fucking assholes. That's why we don't like... Ants are too much like humans. Yeah, they have these certain bugs. You've probably seen this. Look it up. Ant farms, but look up, I don't know, you're going to have to search something about how certain kinds of ants and certain kinds of termites actually know how to cook. They have their own animals that they raise, their own bugs. And they make food for the bugs, and the bugs eat them, and then they eat the bugs, or something like that. Look it up. You're getting a science lesson here from Dr. Merkley, who is about as scientific as Phil Nye, who is also not a real scientist. But he has eyeballs, and he can read, and I can read too. But let's get back to plastic, that goddamn plastic. What the hell are you going to do with plastic? And why do we have to look at that plastic? Every time we look at plastic, we think about how terrible human beings are. I am using the word we there in a manipulative fashion and a dishonest fashion, because I don't think that. I don't have a problem with plastic. I don't look at plastic and think, I hate that. Because I don't hate humanity. I don't. It might sound like I do. Somebody told me just today that they wondered why I've become so angry. And I thought, well, that's an interesting perception of me. I'm not that angry. In fact, most of the preaching I do is telling people to chill the fuck out and stop beating people over the head. You know? Stop hating people. And if you do hate them, if you have some hate, maybe realize, well, you're human too and you can get over that. Or if somebody hates you, maybe you can just equate it and go, okay, well, sometimes we hate people. That's part of the thing. And so I'm fine with you hating plastic. And I honestly don't really care that much if you're a misanthrope and you hate humanity and you hate all people, But realistically, I just want you to know that you are part of nature. You are not separate from nature. Anything that you or your enemy does, or your friend or your foe, anything they do, it's not unnatural. It's natural because it occurs within nature. Everything you see around you is natural. It's impossible to escape nature. There seems to be a philosophical trick that people like to say that, where human beings and their activities are somehow an exception from nature. If a dog does it, it's natural. If a human being teaches a dog to do it, well, that's not natural. Because a human being, for some reason, has got this weird exemption from nature. Not part of Mother Nature. For some reason, human beings, too many people aren't part of nature. And maybe that's what makes them eligible to be hated. Those humans and their goddamn fucking plastics. Don't they know that there was a turtle that got a straw stuck in its nose? I wonder how many turtles have ever gotten a porcupine quill stuck in their nose. Or a bamboo shoot. Bamboo's pretty goddamn hardy. It biodegrades a little bit too fast to build any real, lasting, permanent structures. Bamboo's fun. But what about a rock? A rock lasts for a long time. Nature made rocks. Is that bad? Is nature terrible too because nature also creates things that don't decompose quickly? I mean, everything decomposes at a certain point, or decompose meaning falling apart. Pick up a handful of sand, look at it underneath a microscope, which is just a series of lenses of melted sand. Fun. Isn't that fun? God, that's fun. If you melt sand and curve it in a certain way, you can look at sand even more closely. If you refine it and polish it using polymers, soft things, you can really look at sand even more closely, and you can see, well, this little grain of sand came from a shell. This little grain of sand is a crystal, and this one formed here, this one formed there. And within one little handful of sand, you could probably spend an entire lifetime figuring out where each piece came from, how it decomposed, and you'll be able to find a lot of organic compounds in there, a lot of carbon, little bits of shell. God damn, it's not decomposing fast enough. These shells, these crabs, it's turning into sand. These stones, lava flows, how dare that volcano make this lava flow? Do you know how hard that is to scoop it off the street? Gotta use a fucking pick. Bulldozers. I get it. I'm getting boring. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, yeah, we all know this stuff, Merkley, you dipshit. Do you? Can you stop complaining about plastics? And you're asking, well, maybe you should stop complaining about the complainers. That is a good point, and I wish I knew how to do that. Anyway, you're sitting on some plastic right now. You've got plastic right near you. Wonder how long it takes your fingernails to decompose. Wonder how long it's going to take you to decompose when you die. You know, let's say it takes you. Let's give you a good one. Okay, you particularly, you're going to die, but let's say you're going to die on a glacier, right? And so the temperature is always going to be low. You're going to melt into it, and you're going to be preserved for, let's say, 3,000 years. And somebody's going to dig you up with your little outfit, and they're going to find your plastic on you, and they're going to go, holy shit, what's this cool plastic watch? You know, what is that? 5,000 years from now, which ain't shit in nature. Go back to your handful of sand. How old's that? You know? And this whole idea that plastic isn't biodegradable, that cracks me up because I like to work on my old cars and stuff. And I know all about deteriorating plastics. Cars fall apart. My Cadillac, it's got all the plastic bits on it. They're all cracking, falling apart. You know, you got to get new ones. Wish they would have made it out of metal. But the plastic is biodegrading too quickly. Leave some plastic out in your backyard. You know, you'll see what happens. Only after, a few years you'll start getting cracks in it. It falls apart. You ever taken a piece of plastic, picked it up, and felt it just crumble in your hands? Dug up a piece of... have you ever been working on your yard and dug up a little plastic bag that's only a few years old and it's all falling to pieces, turning into shreds? So it does break down, doesn't it? So these people that are saying that it doesn't, they're liars, right? They're hateful, anti-human liars. Now, am I saying that you should litter? No, I'm not, because I also have a preference that litter is not that good. But the main thing we got to worry about littering, the main thing that the third world has to deal with is disease. And guess where the disease is not coming from? It's not coming from the plastic. Plastic is inert. The pollution we got to worry about is the poop and the pee and the disease. The actual living compounds. The viruses. Not the plastic. Plastic is low on the things to worry about. The poop and the pee and the diseases, much higher. Perhaps you could rearrange your priorities there. I don't know, just thinking off the top of my head. Here's another fun thing. There's this glass beach in California that I've always been meaning to go to. I went to one in Brazil, where what happened is that these human beings, they thought, well, we don't have any place to put our garbage. This is still how most of the world's doing it. America doesn't do this anymore. The first world isn't doing this anymore. But once upon a time, the whole world did this. When you thought, well, shit, we got a lot of garbage. Where should we put it? Dump it in the ocean or river. It'll take it to the ocean, right? So a lot of legit dumps were just dumping things into the ocean, and the waves would crash. And boy, you want to see something biodegrade quick, you get it running around in the waves for a little while. It'll take your rough edges off right away. Well, anyway, where a lot of these dumps formed these beautiful glass beaches, right? With these stones, these beautiful crystal stones made out of all the bottles that had been broken, and then the edges all wear off, and they all look like these beautiful rounded off stones that are so beautiful, And at first it was just a dump, but you add a little time to it, 45 years later, 50 years later, and suddenly they rename the beach Glass Beach, and it becomes a tourist attraction. Right? And then people start coming and they start scooping up all the glass to take home because it's so pretty. They want to use it in their house or in their bathroom, or just have a handful of it or a truckload of it for their aquariums or their fish tanks. The stuff that human beings made. And then time goes by and people go, hey, what are you stealing the glass off the beach for? And suddenly it's a protected resource. Suddenly you get fined and arrested if you steal the garbage off the dump that was once dumped into the ocean. It's kind of a fun little formula, right? Garbage plus time equals national treasure that must be protected. Yeah. So while you're freaking out about plastic, just remind yourself that you've got a very short window. Your ability to comprehend time is probably is not as good as it could be. Could probably use some improvement. I don't know how, but anyway. Plastic. Fun. It's good. Next time you look at some plastic, maybe smile. Maybe think, isn't that amazing that we can make this stuff? And then maybe before you just throw it away or toss it around, think, what could I do with this plastic? What could I do with it? There's a whole resource. I mean, if you're smart, you could get a bunch of plastic for yourself. You could just figure out how to make something with it, a boat, a house. Just keep it. You can build something out of that plastic. Hell, you can light it on fire as long as nobody catches you. If you're ever out in the woods and you find a piece of plastic, by the way, and your fuel is low, you just melt a piece of plastic on top of whatever your other fuel source is, like a piece of wood, and it burns for a lot longer. It's like a candle. Because it's oil. It's petroleum. It's fuel. Like the stuff that's in your car driving right now. It's amazing. It is. It's amazing. So, we've determined that. Plastic is amazing. Humans are amazing. They're not the terrible things that you think they are. They're not. You're wrong. You are wrong. Human beings are not terrible any more than they're amazing. They're both. Okay? And let me just give you let's end this on a productive, constructive note. If you find the big floaties in the ocean of plastic bad, and that's fine, you're fair to do that. There is a dispute whether it's inert or whether it's toxic. There are many studies out there, and you can read whichever one you want. You can find the inert, you can find the no big deal studies, and you can argue all day about who funded them and any conspiracy you want. Pick and choose whatever side you want. But I'm just going to go with you. Let's go with your idea that it is a problem, that the oceans being filled with plastic are a terrible problem. Great. First, if that's your opinion, then research it. Make sure that the problem with sea life is not overfishing, but plastic. Seems to me that the primary problem with sea life is overfishing and other kinds of pollution. Okay? Now, still, if you think there's too much plastic in the ocean, and there probably is, probably doesn't need to be any plastic in the ocean, let's be honest. But what I want you to do is I want you to get out your drone and your little plane tickets, and I want you to find where the plastic is coming from. Okay? What is the entry point? Because that's where you want to catch it. Is it just a million people lined up on the beach throwing their bottles into the water? No, it's not. There are garbage dumps, much like the one I talked about earlier. America stopped doing that. Other countries have not stopped. So that plastic that's getting into the ocean isn't coming from the first world. Not into the ocean anyway. There might make an argument that certain parts of the first world are shipping their garbage to the third world, and from there, it is making its way into the ocean. But just show that. Demonstrate where it's coming from. What's the entry point? Where does the plastic enter the ocean? Find that. Go there and direct your energy at stopping that, rather than lecturing people in America about their goddamn plastic straws. none of which are making it into the ocean, because America monitors its waterways. It makes sure that things don't go down the waterway into the ocean to any significant degree. America deserves a pat on the back, as does most of the first world, for keeping their garbage out of the ocean. The rest of the world is not doing as well. So please direct your complaints to them, and thanks for listening.